Hey, so in this quick video, we're going to do a run through of some basic Google Docs skills that you might find useful. Um, First things first, the quickest way to create a new Google Doc is simply go up to here and type in docs.new. Now, the other thing to remember is that if you're doing this as part of an assignment for Classroom, within Classroom, you usually want to go to add or create within the assignment and then create the document there because it means it's attached and you don't need to manually attach it later. But if you're just making a new doc, this is the way to do it. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to have a quick look at the skills that we want to go through. So I have just copied and pasted a list of skills here, and I'm going to kind of just nudge them down the page a little bit because I don't want them to be at the top. Um, Now, I'm not going to go through these in the correct order because there's a couple of reasons why. The first is that this one here, to use the Explore tool to find information and add citations, it is sensible to do that at the start because I'll use that to find the information that I'm going to put on the page so that I can use that information to demonstrate the other skills. Hopefully that makes sense. So, first things first, the Explore tool is down here. It's this little icon here. And in this context, I'm just going to find some information. So I'm going to search oops, Daisy, just clicked the wrong button. I'm going to search in here Doge. Okay, so I'm just going to search Doge and it will give me web results. Now you'll see that I can actually choose images and I can also search for things in my drive, but I'm just interested in finding some stuff about the Doge meme here. And that one there, the Wikipedia page is where I'm going to copy some text from. So I'm going to, first of all, because I know that's where I'm going to get my information from, I'm going to click this wee cite as footnote button when I've got that information and cite it. So we're going to open the link here. Okay, you can see that that's still all there, but it just opens up a new tab. And I'm just going to copy the first page, the first paragraph really quickly. So just use Control C on my keyboard. You can right click and copy if you prefer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste it up here at the top of the page. That's why I nudged this stuff down a little. You can copy this in from the assignment if you want. It's up to you. So to paste it, one of the important things that I'll also mention is here, which is copy and pasting without formatting. Remember that if we just copy and paste straight away, we get all these links and bits of different colored text and stuff that we really don't want. So if I hit Control Z to undo that, what I actually want to do is paste without formatting. So you can usually right click, paste without formatting, or you can use the short keys, Shift, Control, V, and that will paste the whatever's in your pasteboard, but without any of that formatting. So that's us covered the pasting and the Explore tool, which we'll come back to now. We want to add a citation, so we're seeing where we got the information from. So if I put my cursor at the end of it, or wherever I want this little citation number to appear, I can just go over here to the Explore bar and click the little Cite as Footnote button. And you'll see that what happens is it adds a little superscript number 1 there, and at the bottom of my page, it gives me a citation and it tells me the web address and when it was accessed. So that's all there is to doing the Explore tool. So we'll go back up some basic stuff now, changing font size, style, color, formatting, and so on. Well, let's just make a title because that's something we do in pretty much any document. So I'm just going to duplicate that bit from the first paragraph, paste it in here again, and I'm going to change its formatting. So we're going to look at some of the simple stuff we can do, like font size, which we can either highlight and type in, or we can, so you type it and then hit enter, or we can hit the plus and minus buttons to fine tune it. We can make it bold, we could make it underlined, we could make it a different color by going to text color. We could, in fact, I'll maybe make it purple. There we go. We can highlight things. So if I have a bit of information I think is important, I can go in here and I can use the highlight tool to highlight that. And there's a whole bunch of other formatting things that we can do, like, for example, changing the font family. So if we go over here, we can search for a font that we'd want for that. So the formatting of text is pretty straightforward, but there are sometimes some formatting options like superscript and strike through that you need to do, which aren't on this list of kind of shortcuts here. So if you did need to do that, say for example, I wanted to add in superscript, which is the little numbers that are kind of raised up, like when you use the squared symbol. If you place your cursor where you want it to be or highlight the text, say for example, we'll highlight that word, I go to format and I go to text, you'll see that I have all of those options, including strike through, superscript, subscript. And there's some other things that are quite handy there. If you've got a whole bunch of text that you've accidentally typed with caps lock on, you'll find that in there you can just change it to lowercase or change it to uppercase or change it to title case. So there are some quite clever wee tools that you can use in there for just formatting the text. Okay, I'm not going to show you how to use them all. I think that's fairly self-explanatory. So the next one is alignment. Well, at the moment, by default, all of our text here is left aligned. We can see that by looking at the wee panel here of our alignments, that's highlighted. But commonly with titles, we would maybe want them to be center aligned, so we can make that center aligned by clicking that button. And with the text itself, we might decide, for example, that we want it to be fully justified, which means that it spaces out to have a straight edge down both sides. Now, you can change the alignment of different parts of text, so we could have that part left and that part right aligned if we wanted, but you just have to kind of see what the context is. Quite often we do that if we're adding an address at the top right of a letter, for example, where we'd want one part right aligned and one part left aligned. But for now, I'm just going to leave mine so that it's been done with justified text alignment. So that's simply how we change our alignment. Adding headers, footers, and page numbers is also super simple. There's a quick way to do it, which is simply to go to the top of the page, like this area here, double click in it in this margin, and it'll actually bring up the header option. So I'm just going to type in Doge article 9th of 3rd. There we go. And as soon as I click away down here, I'm no longer in my header, and it doesn't really seem that apparent what header does, but basically if I duplicate the page, so if I go, let's just say I'll just insert a page break here, just so I can get a new page, insert break, page break. You'll see that on that new page, it will add that header in at the top of the page, and it'll do that in every subsequent page as well. So we use headers in documents quite often for information that needs to repeat at the top of the page or the bottom of the page. Would be a footer, and the same process, if we go down to the bottom of the page, just double click and you'll see it will open up the footer menu. Now you can change it so that it's different on the first page, and there's some other stuff in there like whether you want to add page numbers and so on. Pretty straightforward, but if you want to, you can also do it by going to insert, and then you'll see you've got headers and footers options there, and likewise for page numbers, which you can choose to either have start on the first page, either at the top or the bottom, or you can have it skip the first page because sometimes your cover page, you don't want a title number. So we'll just turn that on just to show you. So you can now see that we've got a page number and a header. So that's just covered font sizes, aligning headers and footers, copies and pasting. Next thing we'll look at is creating bulleted numbered lists. And to make this simple, I'm just going to use this series of lines of text as though they were my list. You can make your own list if you want to practice, or you can just copy some text and put it on different lines. But basically, when you highlight text, if you go up here, you have numbered lists and bulleted lists. And if we click on it, any new line will get its own number or bullet point. And if we add a line, so if I click my cursor here and hit enter, you'll see that it will automatically create a number for it. If you wanted to do it as you go along, you'll see that, as you hit enter at the end, it will add another line automatically. So you just need to hit enter to start the next line. To get rid of a number that's on a line that you don't want, just hit the delete key twice and you'll usually get rid of it. And the principle of how you do this in terms of numbers and bullets is exactly the same. So we could change that to a bulleted list. The only difference is that it doesn't have a number. Now, within those, there are some formatting options, like the way that we change the hierarchy, like the other symbols. So I'll kind of quickly explain how we do that. If we have added a new bit of information, say here, we wanted something that was relevant to that, but it's actually going to be, it's like a sub list within that. If we hit the tab key on our keyboard, which is the one with the two opposing arrows, that'll nudge it in, okay? And say again, we had another thing there, we can add a list, and then we can have it even further in by hitting tab again. And so we can move down that hierarchy like you'll have seen with questions where you get 11A, 1, and so on. You can change that retrospectively. So if we want to move that back in the way, if we go up here, you've got these buttons called decrease indent and increase indent. So if I click that once, it'll nudge it back that way. Click increase indent, it goes the other way. Okay, so you can control that yourself. And as I say, exactly the same with bullets. It's just that with bullets, instead of having numbers, you get little icons, and you can change how they will appear by using the little drop down here to use different formats. Like if you like stars or you want it to like check boxes, for example, you can change that in there. So I'm just going to delete some of this stuff that I don't really need because it's not part of my list here. And I'm just going to get on with having a look at what else we need to add. So we've done bullet numbered lists, insert an image for the web. Okay, so that's what we'll do next. We'll put the cursor here because that's where I want my image to go. And the simplest way to do it is you could use the Explorer and then use images and copy from there, or you could go to insert image and you've got a range of options, but we're going to go with search the web. And a similar sidebar will appear here. So I'm just going to search Doge, grab the first picture that comes up and click it once and then click insert, and you should find the picture will appear here. Now, quite often your picture will be the wrong size, so you need to use if you click on it, use the handles at the corners to resize it. And you may even need to crop it if it's a little bit too big. So if you double click on it, you can get these crop handles to just trim it in a little bit at the sides as necessary. And just click in the white space when you finish your crop, it'll take effect. There are some other options if you right click on an image to edit it, but we're not going to dig into that. That's kind of all in image options. The one thing I'm just going to point out though is that we can think about how it fits around the text, and usually the way it is just now, it treats it like it's a piece of text. So if I put the cursor in front of it and hit the space bar, it moves around, or if I hit enter, it drops a line. But it's not a very easy way to manage an image. So the best way quite often is to go down here to this little icon to wrap text, and that means that the text will fit around, and I can grab this and I can just kind of place it where I want. So I could put it, for example, within the text here, and the text will fit itself around the edges of the image. There's also another one called break text, which allows us to drag it up and down, but it basically just means the text will kind of shift above or below it. So that's your inserting images, and the last thing that we were going to do is using the hyperlinks. So if we want to link to a website, so say for example I wanted to make a link to the Wikipedia page where I got this information so that when somebody opened the document they could find it. I could highlight the piece of text that I wanted to have a hyperlink. I could, well, it doesn't really matter which order you do. I could then right click on it and go to link, and it's now asking me to put in a link. So what I'm going to do is go to the website, copy the web address from here, and I'm just going to paste that in there. And now, if you click on that, you will see that inside that word we have a web address that it will allow us to go to. If you simply take the link and paste it in, you can get a hyperlink. It will still take you to the same place, but if you want to put links into a piece of text, that's obviously going to look a little bit messy. You're going to have these big chunks of URLs when you could just embed it quite nicely into Word. It doesn't have to just be in a Word. In some types of docs, you can insert it into images. I don't think you can do that in docs. You can definitely do it in slides though. And it can be a whole group of images, a whole group of words. It doesn't have to be a single one. You can select a whole paragraph if you want. And you can link to other things. You can link to docs by using hyperlinks to things in your Google Drive and so on. But anyway, that's covered all of these different skills. Hopefully you found that useful if you weren't sure about how to do some things. Any questions, just get in touch.